So good morning. So happy that you are able to join the Create Your Choose Your Own Adventure activities today. And if you don't want to be on screen, feel free to shut off your camera. But I am going to get started. This is where you can get the presentation. It's just a shortened bit.ly link. So it's the bit. Maybe I can drop it in the chat. I think that would probably be easier for you because nobody else is coming. Okay, so I think if you just copy that, you'll be able to go directly to the presentation. Let me just make sure that I can get there too. Perfect. So this is a part of our summer PD series, and I am going to be conscious of the time, but I also want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions. So please yell out if something comes up and you need me to stop. So this was basically the description. You know, we want to give kids choice and let them kind of complete things at their own pace. I would challenge you to consider using some of the templates that I'm going to share with you to allow kiddos to create their own. So this is not necessarily you having to create for them. Certainly the grade level of the students that you have is going to be imperative, right? I don't know that preschool will be able to do this, but certainly I think 4th and up could create their own. Does anybody remember these books? The Choose Your Own Adventure books? Oh my gosh, can I tell you how much I love these?
My boys loved them.
So right?
Yeah, I love them.
So I absolutely positively love these books. And I think I actually remember reading The Cave of Time. Don't judge. But my daughter we were talking about this the other day, and she said, how come I have never had the opportunity to read a Choose Your Own Adventure? She says, I think I would really like that. So I went on, and like these originals are like, I don't know, $35 a piece for the book. So we kind of were cracking up a little bit. But the idea of these books were, you know, kind of the inspiration behind this entire presentation. And again, these ideas are not necessarily mine. I have curated a lot of great resources from other educators and trainers. So I need you to think we're going to focus on slides and forms and docs, although in the example that I'm going to give you, that I'm going to walk you through, it will be in forms. But I was mentioning a little bit ago about how these tools typically are very linear, right? So you're going from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3, or question 1 to question 2 to question 3 on a form. And so what you have to think of is actually planning for it not to be linear, right? So you're planning this if-then kind of experience, right? And it's going to be very much like a branch, like thinking like, if I, you know, what is your favorite food? Is it chocolate, or is it bread, or is it coffee, you know, ice cream? And depending upon the answer that someone were to choose, it would lead you to a different path, right? So that's what thinking of branching is. If you answer coffee, then it's going, you know, coffee ice cream is going to then take me to a different question or a different place, okay? So how would this look if we're doing slides, forms, or docs? Well, typically with slides, you're going to have links to other slides in the presentation. So you're skipping over. So think of them as like buttons almost, right? In Google Forms, you're going to be using like multiple choice questions, but the branches will lead to different pages or different, what we'll call sections in forms. And then in Google Docs, you can set it up so that you're linking to like headings that you've created on other documents. Okay, so these are some ideas that I grabbed online because I wasn't sure where we were going to stand with attendees. So, you know, if you were creating something, like I think about 5th grade, right? a fifth grade, when I taught fifth grade back in the day, and Diane, I'm not even sure if you do this now, but fifth grade for me was explorers, right? So thinking about historical figures, I think it was the like American Revolution too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you think about a character or a historical figure and like their life and the choices that they made, could you envision having students create something where they alter that life and maybe like what were the impacts of it, right? That could certainly be an option for a project or an assignment. I love the science, like what happens if you make a different choice, when doing a science lab or, bringing story problems to life in math. And what I really thought also was content review. If you want to create something and have students have to work their way through reviewing or being introduced to a topic, you could absolutely use this choose your own adventure or choose your own activity for that. Now, I have links here in the presentation. This will take you to Matt Miller's the Ditch That Textbook blog post on this, where he has some great explanations as well. Now, before I move any further, I want to pull up some examples for you. I think it might be worth your while. I'm going to pull up two, and then I'm going to give you like 3 or 4 minutes to find another one or two to kind of explore. But I'm just going to go to this first one, which is a slides example. And this is like a virtual field trip, just so you can kind of picture what exactly is this. So this is a Yellowstone Choose Your Own Adventure. And if I was walking through, this first one kind of has an introduction, right? So welcome to Yellowstone National Park. You enter the park here, right? So if I were to click on the next one, and I'm actually going to present this so that you can see how I can click on it. All right, so this is on a new slide, and you can see we've got a picture, we've got a little introduction, and then I have these two choices. So you can see how my cursor changes, right? So it's just that arrow, but when I move over these like buttons, I can see that they're fingers, so I know that they're going to take me someplace. So the rangers welcome us. Do we want to take a map, or do we just want to keep going? I'm going to keep going. Now I have reached Lamar Valley, a basin filled with wildlife. Which mammal would you like to get a closer look at, a bison or a black bear? Oh, I think a bison. So now I'm going to learn a little bit more about bison, and I can see continue to Mammoth Hot Springs. Yay, you have reached Mammoth Hot Springs. So you kind of get the idea, right? You'll notice if I go back to that first slide right here, and I'm going to present this again. If you remember, we just entered the park the last time. So now I want to stop and take a map. Okay, so here's a park map. I want to click the arrow. Hey, this takes me right back here. So it takes me to the same place. What was the difference? Let me go to Black Bear. So you can see it's giving me different options. If I go back to that first slide, right? If you remember, enter the park, I went immediately to this Lamar Valley. But if I chose a map, it took me here, which actually gave me a map of Yellowstone, right? So you can see how it's not as linear as a typical presentation. Okay, and I'm going to show you one more, and then I'm going to let you explore for a little bit. I'm going to actually show you this Dragon Quest one because this is from Eric Kurtz, and he has two examples. One is in a document and one is in slides. So I thought this was really interesting because it's the same example, but this is to give you a sense of what like a Google Doc would look like, okay, for a choose your own adventure. Let me get rid of that.
I like seeing the different versions because different students can learn in different ways, and some can
for sure.
handle more going on the side, and
Agreed.
Others maybe do better with a form, which is a little more simplified in presentation.
Exactly. So this, you can see, we have kind of gives us, an about, begin the story. So I want to go to page 1. So now here's my page 1, hear ye. And then if I scroll down, I'll go to continue. Except I can't scroll down. There we go. So this is just taking me page 2, warm summer day, blah, blah, blah. You just hope that you will stay. So this is, story, pretty linear. Here's my choice. After waiting in line for 1 hour, the king's squire makes the announcement that the quest is ready to begin. He suggests that you go to the peddlers, blah, blah, blah. Do you go to the peddlers or do you continue on without supplies? So this is where, if I just click here, I can see this choice takes me to page 4. But if I choose this one, it takes me to page 5, right? So this is where it's linking to a different page within the same document. Does that make sense? Now, if I go back and look at his slides, the Dragon Quest on the slides, this looks a little different. Again, I still have the, click here to begin the story, continue. And if you remember, it was page 3. Still looks exactly the same, but I can go to the peddlers for supplies, and this is where it takes me, and you can see page 4. And then which is the path, right path or left path, and so forth. So you can kind of get a sense of that. What I'd love for you to do, I'm going to give you just a few minutes. I want you to just look at and explore some of these examples, and I'm actually going to pause the recording just to give you some time.
Sounds good.
Maybe. All right, so did you go to one of these examples, and did you notice something? Did you like the way that they were set up? Can you kind of envision what a choose your own adventure looks like now after visiting some of these?
Yeah, I have a better idea of what it would look like and how it would look different in slides versus Google Forms. I looked at the About Me, which I thought was, great for a beginning back to school, getting to know everybody. I think the kids would think that was really fun. And the I need a vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on, and I will talk to you a little bit about these templates. I think the first thing that you need to think about is what's your overarching goal, right? So if it is having students introduce themselves, so you want to think about perhaps giving them, especially using Google Classroom, you could create or make a copy of some of these templates, but how many slides do you want? How many choices do you want to give them, right? Have them create. Some of these planners, now this, I'm going to show you this blank one, and then I want to show you it as an example. Okay, so these, again, not mine. I found them online, pretty amazing resources, but you could make a copy of this and you could push this out to students, right? So when it says start the story, it could be the project, where do you want to go? So instead of where do you want to go, it would be how do you want to introduce it? And then what are your options, right? So here is an example. This is starting a story. She said she wanted to go, do you want to go to the movies? Do you want to go to the shops? And then if you go to option 1, and you can see this is how it branches to option 1, this is how it branches to option 2, right? And then as we move down from option 1, we have 2 more choices. And I really like how this is labeled option 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, because I know that they're associated with this second choice. And then we have the 1A1, 1A2, because now we have even more choices, right? I like this. For me, it works. Okay, and here's that blank one that you can absolutely positively go into file and make a copy. Another example of a map planner. What I liked about this or this option, it's just another way. And I know, Kim's on here with us, and she's definitely a kind of a visual learner in the sense of doing sketchnoting, right? But this is, if you think again, it doesn't have to be introduction to the story. It can be, what's your first page? What's your introduction? How are you going to kind of entice the person, the student who is completing your choose your own adventure? Or how are they enticing their classmates or you, right? Again, we have options. And if you notice, it kind of moves down. This one is definitely much larger.
I really like this one, and I like that you brought up the fact that you can use visuals over text, even from an expressive language standpoint. If a student, even with the support of a parent, can find an image to place into this graphic organizer, it can then help them to utilize their language skills, which is fantastic.
And again, I would suggest you could download this and then upload it to your drive. You may even consider just dumping everything into a folder, right?
Yeah.
So here's a Google Slides template. Again, what I like about all of these templates is you want to go in and you want to make a copy, okay? And this, again, totally not me. This is this amazing person who had created this. What I like here is we have option 1, option 2, right? And then we go, all right, so here's the story. Now option 1, option 2. So the way that they have this set up is a little bit different. But this is taking you, do you see this? Slide 5C, option 1, story. So it's
already linked.
It's already linked.
Oh my gosh, that's
right?
Wonderful.
So you don't even need to think about it. But I'm not saying that you should still probably learn how to do the linking.
Oh, yeah.
And I say that only because you definitely want to test it, and you want to be able to, like, once you actually create something, and I'm going to ask you to probably create like just something super simple in forms, just so you can kind of see. And then if you want, we can also do that in slides, just so you can see how it branches, okay? And how it's not difficult, but I just want you to make sure that you're able to troubleshoot, right? So if it's not working correctly, if your links aren't all there, you'll be able to fix it, okay? So you can see I've got a couple of forms here, form copies, and then this is also another planning template. This is forcing a copy immediately, which I like. That's that little, if you ever want to do that, make someone force a copy. So instead of this edit, it would be copy up here, right? So you may like this because this isn't a Google drawing. And then you can just kind of, drag the items. Okay. So this forced a copy for me. So now what do I want my event to be? So I'm going to type in here, maybe I want it to be welcome and food choice. Can't spell. This is how I'm planning. So instead of drawing, I'm just going to use this because I like everything. And then maybe I'm going to drag this over. And what I want it to be, except it doesn't want to drag. Here we go. So my choice B is going to be chocolate. So I can actually do this and do my plan directly on the computer. And I'm going to do vegetables. Jeez. Okay. So now, welcome, food choice. Here are my 2 food choices. And now I can even drag this on over, right? So this is a way that I can do my planning. So that's a really great one. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm conscious of the time. But there's no question to me that you'll be able to find some of these, or at least maybe base your idea off of some of these templates. Okay, so this is locked out of the classroom. This is a copy of this particular form. And I want to just show you, we have this little introduction here. It's a multiple choice question. Here are your two choices. Now, I want to point out to you, and I'll walk you through it, but here's choice one. If you choose this get on the intercom, it's telling me to go to section 2. If I choose run the class myself, it's telling me to go to section 5. Now, what I would probably suggest before you even worry about any of this branching is to really think about your plan, okay? And once you create your plan, then you can create all the sections that you need, all of the events, the yes and no's will be your questions, or your answers, I should say, right? So here's like your section, here's your introduction. These are your multiple choice answers. This is a new section. These are your multiple choice answers, right? Does that make sense? All right, let me go back here because I think we're gonna try this ourselves. So I am gonna go in and create a new form. So I'm just going to my Google Drive, and I just want to create a brand new form. Okay. Now, perhaps you can either do this along with me, or you could just kind of follow along and then try it yourself. Totally up to you. But basically, I am going to just title this Choose Your Own Adventure, Summer Vacay. And I'm going to put here, not a multiple choice question. I'm actually going to have it be a paragraph. And I think this is where I'm going to just put, actually, I'm going to put the form description, sorry. Welcome to summer vacation. Staycation edition. Okay. Now, I might put we are home on COVID-19 summer break, but we can plan a staycation. Okay. Now right here, I don't know if you can see this over here on the side. I can add questions. I can import questions, text, description. I want to add a section. Okay. Now immediately, this right here breaks this into two sections. Section 1, Section 2, it's untitled. Now I can go back here and maybe I want them to just, type your name. Type your name below. Now, this, I'm going to have a required question. I tend to have everything required when I do forms. You don't want that when you're doing a choose your own adventure form, because depending upon the path that they take, they're not going to have to answer all of these, right? So what do we want to do? It's our summer stay home vacation. So you can choose your favorite stay at home activity, or choose your favorite stay-at-home activity would probably be better. I want to add a question. And this question is multiple choice. Which do you prefer? Reading a book or playing outside? Okay. I'm going to leave it multiple choice. I'm going to leave those two options. This is basically the first real question though, right? So I want them, this is a required question. But now, if they read a book, if they choose that answer, where do I want them to go? Or if they're playing outside as their favorite stay-at-home activity, where do I want them to go once they answer it? I'm going to actually create a new section, and I'm going to entitle it Reading a Book. And then I'm going to create another new section, and I'm going to entitle it Playing Outside. And I'm going to go back to this section 3, and I'm going to think, okay, I want to add a question. Great. You love to read. You can spend hours with your favorite authors. Kind of get the idea, right? But now what? Do you take time for family or keep reading? So I might do this, right? New multiple choice. Keep reading. Family time. Okay, get that? So now I'm going to go back up here for a second because I don't want to keep going. This could go on and on. This is why my planning is important, right? So choose your favorite stay-at-home activity. So now I'm going to go to read a book, except what I want to do is I want to click on these little 3 dots here in this question. And I want to go to a section based on the answer that my, whoever completes this form gives, right? So reading a book. Do I want to continue to the next section or continue someplace else? So I'm going to click here, reading a book. I want to go to the reading a book section. Playing outside, I want to go to the playing outside section, right? So you can see it's section 4, but because I titled it, I know playing outside will go to playing outside, reading a book will go to reading a book. Does that make sense? Now, I can keep going and going and going and make this as long as I think it needs to be. But you have to kind of bring it all back together, right? So you can go and keep branching, but how are you going to bring it back? So maybe my, this question here, maybe I'll make one more section. Except I need to drag this down. Maybe I'll call it, actually I don't need to drag it down, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I'll call it the family time section. Maybe everything kind of fills into family time. Maybe this reading a book, if I say keep reading, maybe my answer could be at the keep reading, no, go spend time with your family, and that will bring it back to the beginning or back to the same answer. You want to envision, and I think it was something, might have been this one. It's definitely on one of the ones that I chose. It will bring them back. Those are just all different options. Okay. I'm not sure if that was helpful at all, but oh, Hannah shows up. Thank you, Hannah.
I had it down as 10:30. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's all good. I think it was 10. No worries.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Did somebody very kindly share the presentation with her in the chat? Because she should have totally said, I'm here and I'm late.
Thank you. I snuck in.
You're the best. Okay. So with this, does anybody have questions about forms? If you want to look at the copies again, and you can kind of see this one, right? Go to section 3, go to section 4, custodian not available. Look at where this takes me. Go to consequences of working quietly. So that, you remember how I said go to a final section? So this one.
That's a funny sentence.
I know, right? And this one will take you. So depending upon, this one just is section 4, custodian is not available. He will come in 10 minutes. So it's only giving me one choice, right? I don't know what this, you will be freed. Remember, we're locked out of the classroom. Consequences of impromptu recess. You lose today's recess for misbehavior. So you can see how these are just like not really a question per se, as it's just like a
Condition?
a condition, right? So that if you choose, ask the secretary to send the custodian to unlock the door, she sends him, she says he's not available. So she sends him, so the custodian is available, he unlocks the door, you're free. Make sense? Custodian is not available, he will come in 10 minutes, then you will be freed. And then go to this section 7, which if I scroll down, you can kind of see. You get 10 minutes of extra recess for being responsible. Yeah, you kind of get the idea. Okay, so it is 10:46, which means we have 15 minutes left today. Does that make sense in terms of using the forms? And I know, Liz, this was something that you were thinking forms is your way to go. Does that make sense with, now I'm going to create this? So visually, I want a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want to take that plan and try to, where does it fit best? Is it better in a slide presentation, or is it going to be better in a form? Or do you like the document, how that just, kind of scrolls down? That's totally up to you. But I want you to think and maybe create from one of those templates that I have shared, right? Maybe grab one of those. I mean, I don't necessarily think you need to go crazy, right? You're trying to create one yourself, or envision how you could have your students create one. And I think we all agreed at the beginning of the year, like that student introducing themselves might be a fun one, right? Because then they could share it and we could learn different things about them. So make a copy of it, right? So go right into it. Hannah, for you, this is on the example, so it's on slide 7. This is the one that we're talking about, this about me student example slide. Okay. This is one that I had found, and we liked this one as just an option for kids to, let me see if I can open it. Kids to share and you can learn a little bit about them, but also giving people that kind of choice, right? When I say choice, it's, okay, here's Alex. I'm going to present. So cute.
Such a cutie.
Right? So I'm a 3rd grader. I love dog. Take a few moments to learn about me. Click here. I love to eat. So you can kind of see, oh my gosh, my dad was a chef and went to culinary school. Fantastic. Pasta carbonara, a grilled steak. What do you want his dad to cook for you? I think I want pasta carbonara. So now he tells you a little bit about that. And now what do you want for dessert? How cute is this? Because these are his 2 favorite desserts. I want, maybe I would click on ice cream or cannoli. You kind of get that, right? Mm-hmm. This is probably somebody who is 3rd grader, right? So I think, 8, maybe 9. Certainly a really cute idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a slides example. Certainly go ahead and find something, and I'd love for you to try to create something on your own today. or at least the starts of something. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for right now, unless you feel like I need to. Because basically it was, oh, let me just show you this. The very last page, the resources page, these are where I had found some things, right, to share with you. So Eric Kurtz, Matt Miller, all the big names, right? But these three, this Create, Dream, and Explore was really good with specific directions for forms. So if you want like the concrete blog post with that, I liked it. But I wanted to just share with you Google itself in the Applied Digital Skills curriculum. This is actually a lesson that can be used with students. So Hannah, even though you were late, this might be right up your alley. This, you could actually just use this with your sixth graders, right? With your incoming sixth graders. What I love about the Apps-Ski, it's, you know, this is kind of like the Google Apps overview. I'm just going to see if it lets me move ahead pretty quickly. Oh, it's not letting me. It's making me do the survey. Okay. Trust me on that. You can absolutely do this if then. It's a cool curriculum. So I would have you explore that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I would like to know if anybody has any questions. I think I'll make slides rather
I
than.
have a question, Karen.
Of course, Liz, you can absolutely do that. Go ahead, Diane.
I was looking at like the different templates you had offered, and so I clicked on the forms one that says copy of the Google Forms template.
Yeah.
And it takes you like right into the Google Forms.
Yeah, so that's,
you can start typing right into that. Is that okay? And so if I were want to give that to kids, do I just make a copy of that and like push it out on like my Google Classroom? So each kid gets their own copy and then they just kind of type in their options?
Yes. Yes. So I believe what you want to do is title it, you know, whatever, like I might say, Choose Your Own Adventure template.
Okay.
And then when you push it out through Classroom, I think you can do that with anything, right? Whether it be a docs or a presentation or a form.
Yeah.
You're actually forcing a copy on them.
Okay.
So then they can edit directly from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good to know. I'm going to play with that right now.
All right. Anyone else have any thoughts? So you have the presentation. What I would do is I'm actually going to stop recording because we don't need to record anymore. Let's spend some time exploring and chatting for the last 10 minutes. And if you are watching this at a later date, reach out with any questions.